Justin Marshall warns All Blacks face fresh proving ground after Scott Robertson's axing the shock dismissal of Scott Robertson as head coach of the All Blacks has sent ripples through New Zealand rugby, not only at administrative level, but deep into the playing group itself. According to former All Blacks scrum-half Justin Marshall, the decision has effectively reset the international pecking order, leaving several established players with no choice but to re-earn their stripes during the upcoming Super Rugby Pacific season that Robertson's axing last week came just 2 years into a 4-year contract, a move that stunned fans and pundits alike given the high expectations that accompanied his appointment. After years of domestic success with the Crusaders, Robertson was widely viewed as the man to usher in a new era for the All Blacks. Instead, New Zealand Rugby, NZR, has opted for a dramatic change of direction following a comprehensive review of the 2025 international campaign. That a ruthless review and a sudden end the decision to part ways with Robertson followed an internal review commissioned by NZR and led by Chairman David Kirk. The panel also included former All Blacks hooker and current NZR board member Kevin Mialamu, as well as ex-NZR high-performance manager Don Tricker. Their findings ultimately convinced the governing body that a coaching change was necessary, despite Robertson still being midway through his contract. While NZR has remained tight-lipped about the specific conclusions of the review, the message was clear. Performance levels, consistency, and overall direction were deemed insufficient for a team with the All Black standards and legacy, that a successor is expected to be announced in the coming weeks. But according to Marshall, the uncertainty surrounding the coaching position has already created a new and unforgiving environment for players who may have grown comfortable under Robertson's tenure. Complacency creeping in. Speaking on Radio New Zealand, Marshall suggested that some All Blacks had fallen into a sense of security, relying on familiarity and past selections rather than consistently pushing the boundaries of their performance. Those players probably have a bit of complacency in their systems because they're used to getting picked, Marshall said. They're used to going out and doing what they've been doing for the last 6 years, 10 years, whatever it might be. In Marshall's view, the Robertson era had developed a clear structure and style, one that certain players fitted in naturally. But with that structure now dismantled, those same players can no longer rely on reputation or historical form. That coach is going to be announced, Marshall continued. So all those players that were working under Scott Robertson have to reset because they now have to think about, do I fit into this with the thinking of a new coach? Is he going to see from me every week that I want to be an All Black? It is a mindset shift that Marshall believes will be confronting for some, but ultimately necessary. Super Rugby Pacific, trial by fire with no international rugby in the immediate future, Super Rugby Pacific becomes the primary audition stage for All Blacks hopefuls. For the first time in several years, selection certainty has evaporated, and every performance will be scrutinized through the lens of a new coaching philosophy. That could be a total mindset change, Marshall said, and they want to make sure they're performing each week. Marshall's comments underline a key reality of elite rugby. International jerseys are never owned, only borrowed. The arrival of a new head coach often triggers a ruthless reassessment, where past loyalty counts for little and current form reigns supreme. Players who once felt secure may now find themselves under pressure from emerging talent, particularly younger Super Rugby standouts eager to impress a fresh regime. Speaking from experience, Marshall's warnings carry weight because they are rooted in personal experience. During his illustrious All Blacks career from 1995 to 2005, the former Crusaders halfback played under multiple head coaches, each bringing different philosophies, expectations, and selection preferences. I came in when Laurie Maines moved on, Marshall recalled. Then John Hart moved on after the World Cup. Then Wayne Smith moved on prematurely. Each transition forced players to reevaluate their standing within the squad, often with little warning. It does make you wonder about where you sit, he explained, because all of a sudden you're not communicating with that coach regularly. Where they saw you in that environment is no longer relevant because that environment doesn't exist anymore. Marshall described the process as unsettling but ultimately beneficial, as it prevented stagnation and demanded constant self-assessment from players. That a new coach, a clean slate. One of the defining features of a coaching change is the clean slate it offers. While that could be daunting for experienced internationals, it also opens doors for players who may have previously been overlooked or marginalized. Marshall believes the next All Blacks coach will be watching Super Rugby Pacific closely, searching for signs of hunger, adaptability, and growth rather than simply safe, familiar performances. It's not just about doing your job anymore, Marshall implied. It's about showing intent, energy, and something extra. This could mean expanded skill sets from forwards, greater tactical awareness from backs, or leadership qualities emerging from unexpected quarters. Players who respond positively to this pressure, Marshall suggests, could significantly enhance their chances of future selection. No reason for doom and gloom despite the upheaval. Marshall is adamant that the situation should not be viewed as a crisis. On the contrary, he believes the All Blacks, and Super Rugby Pacific as a whole, could emerge stronger from the disruption. There's no reason for pessimism, said the 52-year-old. It's good to be put in that position of pressure, particularly when you've been around that environment for a long time and have that familiarity of where you sit. Pressure, Marshall argues, is a necessary ingredient for growth, especially within a system that demands excellence, because it means that you need to make sure that you're performing and maybe showing a little bit of something that we haven't seen out of your game in a while. That might be what the coaches are looking for. Super Rugby's chance to shine beyond individual performances. Marshall believes the reset could reinvigorate Super Rugby Pacific itself. With All Black spots suddenly up for grabs, domestic competition intensity is likely to rise, benefiting fans, franchises, and a national setup alike. Younger players in particular stand to gain from the uncertainty. Without a settled international hierarchy, breakout performances could fast-track careers in a way rarely seen in recent seasons. At the same time, established stars will be forced to lead by example, proving that their experience still adds value in a rapidly evolving game. The bigger picture for New Zealand Scott Robertson's dismissal has also sparked wider debate about NZR's long-term strategy, coaching stability, and tolerance for short-term underperformance. International reactions, including criticism from figures such as France head coach Fabien Galthy, have added fuel to the conversation, with comparisons drawn to the treatment of previous All Blacks coaches. However, Marshall's perspective remains firmly player-centric. For him, the debate about governance and contracts is secondary to what happens on the field. Players can't control who the coach is, he has effectively argued. They can only control how they prepare and how they perform. And in that sense, the message to the All Blacks playing group is unmistakable. Comfort zones are gone, and reputations are no longer enough. The defining season ahead as Super Rugby Pacific approaches, the stakes feel higher than they have in years. Every carry, kick, tackle, and pass could influence how a new All Blacks coach views the future of the team. For some players, this will be an opportunity to reaffirm their place at the highest level. For others, it will be a wake-up call that the game and the system waits for no one. Justin Marshall's verdict is clear. Pressure is coming, but so is opportunity. How players respond may well shape not only their own careers, but the next chapter of All Blacks rugby.